My default mode is if somebody needs help, my answer is yes. I always thought if I could spend an hour with you and save you 10 hours of time, I would spend that hour. Like that is a good investment. I've got, 10 generic pieces of advice for every startup, but one is share every problem you have as quickly as possible because we don't know who is going to have an answer. Like literally you want to surface what the issues are so somebody can help you.
As a person, I want to have fun in life. It sounds like you do too. And I don't want to spend my time being this like draconian tyrant who's just like barking orders and telling people why they're not good enough. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to say it. But at the other side, it's like, you do have to let people know if it's not good enough because it's your job.
I think I was probably cagier with information at the beginning of my career. And like, I don't want somebody to steal my idea or whatever. And I think it probably took me a couple of years before I realized, I should just share these problems. Nobody else, even if they're steal my idea and go after it, they're not thinking about the business the way I'm thinking about it. It doesn't matter.
If you could go back to the earliest stage of your career, Aaron, and give yourself advice, what would you tell yourself?
I think about it like,
Aaron, thanks so much, man, for coming on the show. Today's episode is about what you give and who you give it to. And the theme is that we're working on this. The theme is the power of paying it forward and the inner circle that keeps you going. And I'm sure you've heard this a zillion times before, where people say that your network is your net worth. But for some, I think it goes a little deeper than that. And it's not just about collecting contacts. It's about building a circle of people you trust and you invest in and support. And it's also about just in generally being a connector. And you, Aaron, are a master of that. Now I know we've just met, but you've done so much stuff from Modify watches to Loop and now Orita. And you're known for being the nicest guy in commerce. I'm sure you've heard that a bunch of times. And you haven't just built companies, you've built people, and you've done it by paying it forward, by being a matchmaker. So I'm super excited about learning more from you, Aaron, about your founder, your journey as a founder, your journey as a dad. And maybe a little bit about, why doing good for others isn't a distraction from success. It's often the engine behind it. So, Aaron, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I want to see the force ranking of nice people. I know a bunch who are ahead of me. I smile a lot. So I think I get a little extra points for it. But
it turns out smiling does work.
you can be a real jerk. Just smile more. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I actually read this study that if you want your kids to be nice, you just smile at them consistently for the first 4 years of their life. And apparently they're like generally nicer people, which is, I don't know.
Ours are 7 and 9 right now. And there's been fewer smiles, like a lot of smiles and then a lot of grimaces. So hopefully we got through it okay.
Dad jokes create grimaces, I found out. Awesome. So the first is, I want to learn about this inner circle, Aaron. We were kind of talking beforehand and you said that, you've worked with so many people across your career, but there is kind of, you call it like a group of close advisors that you keep closest. And I'd love to learn more about that. Like what defines your inner circle and who's in it and what's the role that it plays in your life as a founder?
Yeah, I make a lot of phone calls and I like kind of have a rotation of people who I call. Like it'll be like old colleagues, like anybody, right? There are a handful of people who I talk to a lot, specific around startup stuff. The most obvious example is one of my best friends, this guy, Bevin, who is a co-founder of a company called Magoosh. Magoosh is like the number one, I think, Jerry test prep platform. They do it for 1/10 of the cost of Kaplan. It's awesome. They've been around, they started it in 2009. I started business in that year. That sucked. But my first real business modified it, the next year. And for the most part, for the first like 5 or 6 years of our businesses, we talked every day, often multiple times a day.
Wow.
And so somebody who understood me and understood at the time my team or our funding situation or our customer base or whatever. And so if I were to bring something up, I don't need to spend time giving him context. He had all the context, right? And so having somebody like that has always been really useful. Orita is my 4th company, and being able to talk to him about anything. I talk to him a lot less now, but still multiple times per week. Like right before this, I was out for a 10-minute walk and I tried him. He didn't pick up. He'll call me in an hour. I won't pick up because we're chatting,
yeah.
But having that like kind of rock has been extremely helpful. And then as I've kind of progressed in my career, there are a bunch of other people. There's a buddy, Brendan Baker, who's at a fund called Rack House Ventures, who's just like as kind of a person as possible, but like studies venture, understands startups, right? A buddy, Payman, who started a couple companies. You're smiling, you probably know this guy, but it's just
I don't, but
okay.
I just like all these people.
You should. He's at a firm now, but just like brilliant. Hannah, who's the CEO at Loop Returns, right?
Wow.
Who I worked with a couple years ago. So there's like this group of people who I can just call, and it feels very judgment free. But I can be like, "Hey, shit's really hard right now," or things are going well, and I'm just excited. I need to tell somebody we had our biggest month ever.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like there's these kind of known organizations like YPO, Young Presidents Organization, or like Hampton, which I'm part of, or whatever, PEF. And they kind of provide that, although it seems to be a little more like you're kind of put into a group randomly and you kind of create connections over time. But gosh, Aaron, the just like what an important to me tool you've given yourself. You have these incredible people, you selected them, you have a longitudinal relationship with them over time. I guess here's the question is, so one, what's stopping someone today from doing it earlier in their career? And two, what's in it for them? Like, why do they do it?
Like, why did the people who I'm calling pick up the phone?
Yeah. Why do they help?
I probably tried this with 100 people and maybe 5 have jumped. Does that make sense? So like, I only see the people who I chat with all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't do it earlier in their career. I mean, you've seen enough startups. I've got, 10 generic pieces of advice for every startup, but one is share every problem you have as quickly as possible, because you don't know who is going to have an answer. Be like, oh yeah, my cousin had a, like, literally you want to surface what the issues are so somebody can help you. And so I think I am probably more transparent. I don't build in public. I'm not like, here's our financial numbers. But if I'm having an issue, I'm not like, let me hide that. I will be explicit about it. And when there are people who help you solve that, and it's not like transactional, but it's actually like energizing for both parties, and you're having a discussion, and you follow up and you're like, hey, that was really helpful. And I actually didn't take your advice at all, but like, thank you. That helped me get to conviction on something, right? It doesn't have to be you just do what somebody says. I think it's like any group of friends. Like, you find people who you engage with. Like, some of the folks I literally only talk startups with. Like one of the people is like, hey, we should get our families together. I was like, unlikely. My wife is not going to spend a Saturday. Your kids who are like 2 years younger than our kids, and we're commuting. I will spend all the time in the world with you, and I will help you, and I will come over and meet your kids. But like, there is anyway, you get it. And so, like, it's a different life.
God, I like literally. It's such a pithy one-liner response. Just unlikely. It's like, I love you, but at this level, you and me, not the family.
Yeah, I mean, it would, in a different world, if our kids were slightly different, we live closer, sure. But
are you also married to an Italian?
I'm not, but I'm married to a badass, and so I know when I'm allowed to ask for favors or spending time with people.
Okay, so Aaron, you said something that I really want to take a second to say again, which is share every problem you have as soon as possible.
I think so, and frequently.
That is, I mean, not an easy thing to do as a founder, especially an early founder. Do you find that because you have this inner circle, you can do that more readily because it's a group of folks who are willing to help out, and it's not going to be consequential in the judgment sense of it?
I think I have built up enough reps over the years to be able to quickly be like, okay, this person can handle it or not. Like, I have no doubt if we were to chat over a drink tonight and I were to be like, hey, these are some real issues, I feel like I would enter it pretty judgment free, and you might be able to help me. And if you didn't, you wouldn't go call my investors and be like, hey, he's worried about this thing.
Yeah.
And so I think people are worried about noise getting out, or a founder is supposed to be strong, and forget being a founder, just like anybody is supposed to be great at their profession, their career, their family. And I think it's such a fallacy to not bring in smart people around the table. Now, would I, share with one of my kids' teachers who I'm extremely fond of some issue work? No, because even though I want to hang out with them, like, that is not a topic where I think they're going to get energy and they're not going to help me solve my problem. So, it's also relative to who the person is and what the what the time period is that you're having the discussion.
I love that. I find that one of the mistakes I see, and you can always tell because it's always someone early in their career, one of the mistakes they always make is they try to hide when something's going wrong. And they hope that either it gets better or there's some other competing piece of positive news they can then deliver at the ending, some package that makes it a little less bad. I've never seen that go well.
I don't think so. I mean, you hear all the time from investors who are like, well, I wish they would have told me that this is an issue. I am a small, like 5K, 10K. It's a lot of money, but relative to the cap table, a very, very small investor in a lot of companies. And I've had a couple go out of business. and then call me a month or two after. And I already knew they went out of business. And I'm like, first of all, I'm on your cap table. I should have known. But second of all, I'm literally a commerce operator in this space. I know investors. I'm good at sales. Of all the people,
Why didn't you call me? Yeah.
Yeah. I expected the investment to go to zero when we invested. Like, let me help you. I'm here for a reason. And so I find, I get it. It's scary,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Totally.
think you can work through it.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 different reasons. But yeah, for the most part, I think being really open. And then to your point about like community and connectivity, there are people who gravitate towards that, but forget work stuff, on a personal level, like the more authentic you are, the more vulnerable you are. That's not like the right or the wrong choice, but the deeper relationships you will tend to have with people because they see you and you get to see them and you go to a level that you wouldn't if you were just superficial and, joking around the whole time.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Do you know Adam Bain over at 01A? He was at Twitter for a while.
I mean, I know who he is. I don't know him, but yeah.
I feel like you guys would be fast friends. He had this joke he made to me, but he was very honest about it. He said, I never want to be on the board because I actually want to know what's going on. I thought that was so interesting. Like, what a strange comment about just.
I mean, I can think about this from like my first board meeting at Modify, which would have been like 2012, something like that, 2013. And I talked for 2 hours and 45 minutes of the 3-hour meeting. And by the last one, I think I talked for 5 minutes and it became a debate about, where I presented, I was like, look, here's the things you need to know. Here's everything in my mind. Let's have a discussion. And it was so much more impactful to get that talk. But I see it with, I'm on one board these guys have actually gotten really, really good at how they present information. It used to be that type of thing, and now it's way tighter. But it's the same interaction with advisees, with any founders that you're just meeting, is like they don't just get to the point and then create space for the discussion and for the connection on some level.
Yes, totally. Okay, so here's a question. So you have this group of people now. Are you in other people's group where when they call you, you pick up the phone and give them advice?
I mean, I pick up the phone all the time. I don't know if anybody again, going back to stack ranking, I don't know if people call me as much as I'm want to believe that they're like, oh yeah, he's good at this stuff. I get so many random calls. I had a call this morning with a guy who's a year behind me in business school. We used to hoop a lot. Haven't talked to him in a couple of years. He's at a company. It's doing well. He's looking for a connection to somebody. And we jumped on a call for 25 minutes. And I didn't have anything at that time, but it could have been talking to my team or doing literally anything else. But my default mode is if somebody needs help, my answer is yes. And I think the framing, probably going back, at this point to I was going to say a decade, but 15 years, since I've been a founder, is I always thought if I could spend an hour with you and save you 10 hours of time, I would spend that hour. That is a good investment. Not that you're paying me, not that I'm an advisor, literally nothing. And then I feel extreme amounts of guilt. There's this founder of a commerce tech company who I know I can help and I have not put in the time. And I'm like, I got to help this guy. I don't need to. He doesn't but I can see when I can create leverage and I don't. And then that's where I feel a lot of stress. I don't know if it's Jewish guilt or something, but it's just, it's there.
I would frame that as a wonderful part of that culture. But I guess here's what it comes down to is the idea of paying it forward with intention. And I think this is a rep you have. You're someone who connects. You kind of give. You don't focus on taking. But there's also there's a delicate balance in this stuff. So let's dive into it. Which is, you said if you know you can help someone, you feel guilty for not helping them. But you've also got to balance the fact you got a bunch of other stuff going on. You got your own company, you have a bunch of investments, you have your family, you have your wife, all this sort of stuff. So how do you balance it? I want to believe everyone wants to do it, but maybe they're scared or don't know how to manage it. So how do you pay it forward with intention? And what is that intention? What's the equation?
Yeah. I think my perspective has definitely, and my behaviors have changed over the years. So when I started Modify, for a lot of people from Cleveland or from Columbia, my undergrad, or from the world,
they all reached out.
Well, I was their startup friend. So it'd be oh, my buddy is starting this, reach out to them. And the answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always joke, but I mean, it's much more fun to talk about somebody else's problems than your own. I'm up until midnight waiting for my factory so I can get a second message with them at the time, right? It was in Jamen. And then up at 6 a.m. and spending 30 minutes on your business, not mine, was awesome. I also think I learned so much from talking to other people about their quote unquote problems, because it makes you think about your issues in a different way. And you process something, you're like, oh, I don't do that. Should I do that? Right. I'm like, oh, Healy, focus wins. And I'm like, am I focused? And I'm never focused. Right. So, you probably like, for me at least, like talking out loud would always serve me. Um, I think it was 2018 or 2019. I hit a point where I was helping a bunch of people with fundraising. And that to me was the like, I have a very big network. I can't get Healy to take a meeting or to care about you, but I can give you pretty high confidence he will read the email if I send him the email. Because I don't like send him 50, but if I like see it and I'm interested in the company, I'm like, yo, I think this is relevant to things you've invested in. And I started becoming a formal advisor to some companies. Like there was one particular founder where she couldn't raise. I helped her raise like 1.1 for 1.2. And it was like literal direct introductions. I didn't get advisory shares. I didn't get a thing. And that was one of the times where I was like, okay, I spent a lot of time doing this and I'm really proud of it. And like the impact versus like, to me, there wasn't even like a coffee, thank you. And I didn't do it to get that, but that was one of the times where I felt imbalanced. So then I took on more formal roles where I was like, cool, I will help you and let's do this. And it wasn't just fundraising, it was sales and strategy. Anyway, fast forward to today, I no longer take on advisory roles. If I'm thinking about it, I will spend like an hour or two with a founder because I'm like, let me just spend a lot like meaningful time with you and then like look at everything and see if I can be helpful. And if it doesn't create an insane amount of joy for me, like I just don't have capacity. So I still maybe spend the hour, but I don't spend the 20 hours. I don't like, you know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. Okay. So one thing I love this is part of your intention is you want to do a little bit of calibration with that person you're helping out to make sure you want to continue doing it and make sure it's like additive to your life and fun versus just like thankless.
Yeah, people will be like, hey, I'll give you $500,000 in my company, which for an early stage advisor is like a lot of equity. And they probably should be doing it. And then I'm like, well, if I'm all in and it's in my narrow niche of the world, I will get them a good ROI in that. We'll help with fundraising. I'll help with sales. I'll make like, I would in spirit, quote unquote, earn it. Debatable. But do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be like me trying to get something without me creating value. I know one advisor who's like 5% of an early stage company. And like, that's bonkers. Like, it's just like, there's no quote unquote advisor who can do that. I don't know. I assume all the equity is going to zero. It's just got to be, do I want to spend time with this person? And so now my framework is, would I have worked for him or her at some point in my career? If yes, then I'll consider the time. But if not, I'm like, why am I, even if they're willing to pay me a lot of money?
Wow. But I work for them. Wow.
Yeah, privileged position to say that, right? But like, I don't want more equity and more, like, I just don't want distraction from family and work.
Gosh, you said another thing, which I wanted to double click on, which was that, you found that a lot of that early work were moments where you learned a lot too. And I wanted to reflect that I realized one of the most helpful tools I've had in knowing how to be CEO was being on the boards of other companies, seeing how other CEOs run these, how they communicate, how they, both the missteps they have and the successes and how they, it's there's like an art and a science to it. And, to me, there is often not articulated the personal benefits you get from being that helper to other people. When you help someone else out, you learn a ton. And I love you saying that there's no more fun or problem to work on than someone else's. It's like totally, because it's ultimately on them you can advise. Okay, I love that. So also, there's an element of this which is like it's kind of like a karmic thing in a way, Aaron. You're saying, look, I'm going to invest in this stuff. I'm going to make decisions on, with whom I spend time based on kind of like almost like how much I like them and the feelings of joy I get. But have you found that there is this thing where when you put a bunch of good energy out there helping others, it comes around? Have there been times when someone reached out to you and said, hey, or just helped you out in a way you felt like, wow, came back?
It's a good question. I don't think I believe in karma. So I'm like trying to, we can get it a whole
metaphorically.
And no, I understand what you're saying. I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out how I genuinely process this. Because I said yes, it was, if I got asked for 100 hours in 2010, I said yes to 95 of those hours. And probably 5 of them were quote unquote useful for me. Does that make sense? It was probably like some random, my buddy's doing this thing and that person is actually starting the thing and I'm like spending a half hour and then I'm prepping for the half hour thing. You know what I mean? Reviewing a deck before the half hour, whatever it is. But because I did that over and over and over, there are just like I'm not saying I have a higher hit rate or a higher proportion, but there are more people who know I exist in the ecosystems that not that I care about, but that like directly affect me. Do you know what I mean? Like I care a lot, and I used to care everything about sports, and we had sports licensing. And for 2 years, I was at every licensing show and all the stadiums and everything, and it was awesome. But it's not like I kept doing stuff with those people. It's like they're not thinking about me. I like am very fond of that experience, but in terms of like building a B2B SaaS company, there are a lot of people who know I exist, and I can be like, hey, if I, again, I say it like if I send a note, they may say no, but they'll take the meeting, right? Or they'll jump on the call. If I like am actually asking for something, I'll make it very clear what I'm looking for and make it explicit, like, yo, we don't need to chat if this isn't useful for you. I'm not asking, right? And so I think that has been really helpful. I mean, I can tease out, I have one very concrete
Yeah.
example where it's been beneficial to
Oh
me.
yeah, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
I got connected to this guy, Matt Barr, who's the founder of a company called Faring, which like if you are in e-commerce, you know Matt, you know Faring, and they've got, God knows, 5,000 Shopify brands use them. Awesome. Awesome operator, awesome company. Some of the biggest, right? Many of the biggest. And I don't even remember the context, but I helped him with this fundraise it was during COVID, so called like 2020, 2021. And it ended up being a really successful fundraise. And it wasn't successful because of me, but it just like it happened, right? And then I helped him with go-to-market, and I became a formal advisor. In the summer of 2023, I hit a point of like joy in my life where I was advising companies and then consulting for a subset. But the only ones I were consulting for were the founders, where I was like, oh, if Healy were to have hired me, it's not like I love it. Healy's not hiring me as a consultant. He's hiring me because he's seen me do work. And he's like, he's not a sales consultant, but Aaron will do what Aaron does, and I want more of his time. And so it was like a very joyful period because I was only working with people who I was kind of in awe of. Matt at that point introduced me to these two guys, DB and Zach. And I think his exact quote was like, they're brilliant, but they have no idea how good they are. Like, help them with fundraising and go to market. It was something along those lines. And so we met at Bryant Park in New York. Like I can picture which table we were at. And I'd met another one of my portfolio founder companies, whatever. And then within a couple months, I became their co-founder. And they'd asked, and I was like, I remember talking to Matt, I was like, man, I love these guys. And then they asked, and then we literally spent 2 months together, or a month, whatever it was, where I worked as a co-founder without committing, because for me to give up my happiness of not being all in as a founder, do you know what I mean, was such a high bar. And it was like, they're smarter than me, they're kinder than me, they're amazing. How lucky am I? And, we're almost 2 years into that journey now, but it was literally somebody connected me with Matt. Matt then connected me with these guys, and he connected in a way that wasn't like anybody was looking for anything. He's like, oh, Aaron will just meet with you guys and you should chat. He will help you in an hour. And then it turned into advisor, and then within a month, co-founder. And it's like, then we met. You got, it's like, and then on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Aaron, have you ever heard of there's this professor, Dr. Richard Wiseman? He's at this University of Hertfordshire.
I don't
So
think so.
I want to tell you this. I think there's a through line here that you're going to love. So he has been obsessed his entire career with trying to figure out what makes someone lucky. Like, how is luck something scientific, or is it art, or what is it? And so he has this famous test called the newspaper test. And he got 500 people. 250 people were self-described lucky. They're like, yep, my life is great. I always get the promotion. My wife's amazing. My husband's amazing. My kids are beautiful. Like, everything works out. I'm lucky. And 250 of them were self-described unlucky. Like, oh my gosh, like I fell down, I broke my knee, I got fired, or like whatever. I'm the flight attendant, and everyone just knows when I get on this flight, lightning's going to strike, a fight's going to break out, there's going to be an emergency landing. It's just what happens to me. And so he has them all sit down, and it's the same test. The test is, tell me how many photos are in this newspaper. And if you're right, you'll get 250 pounds. But if you're wrong by one, you get 0. And so they start doing this test, and as they flip through, on the third page, there's this big like photo. And in the middle, it says the answer is 47 photos. Tell the proctor you'll get your 250 pounds now. Almost every single self-described lucky person saw that and said, oh, it's 47. Got the 250. Almost none of the unlucky people saw it. And so you keep going through, and then he had this bonus. At the ending of the newspaper, there was another really big image, and it said bonus round. If you see this, tell the proctor you get a bonus 250 pounds. Same answer. Almost all the lucky people saw it, and almost none of the unlucky people saw it. And I remember the first time I heard about the study, I was like, what's the takeaway? And what it came down to was that people who are lucky are just open to possibilities. They go into stuff, they say yes, they take the connection, they have the meeting in Bryant Park. They're just open to things, and they're not so scared about focusing on getting it exactly right. They're kind of taking things in. And as a result, luck, opportunity just comes their way because they met with those co-founders as an advisor, versus unlucky people are so terrified they're going to get it wrong. They can't do anything else. They just got to focus on getting it right. And I just have to say that there's something I hope that is just like a universal realization folks have, which is when you say yes to helping other people, when you connect other people, you are also opening yourself up to possibilities. And as a result, good luck comes your way.
I love it. That's a really interesting study.
It's a really good study.
Yeah. I mean, the mentality of being open, and then to the point we were talking about before, just finding that balance, right? Like there was a story, I mean, I don't know, it was 20 years ago, of the guy who proactively donated his kidneys because he thought that was like the high, he didn't need to, but it was, he went through surgery, and then there was like, I'm sure this was like a New York Times story, right? But it was like, well, I think like the highest utility for the world is for me to help these people. And the family was like, well, what if one of us needs a kidney at some point, right? And there was like actually there's always that debate about like, are you maximizing utility externally? But I think the idea of being open, I don't know, I love it, man. That is, I think I'm no longer as open as I used to be, and I can feel it in that way. I think like the world, like Orita is awesome and intense. The kids are older and intense. You know what I mean? It's like, and I feel, if I feel FOMO, it's not for missing events. It's for like not engaging with more people.
I feel you. It's, I have to say same for me. Like, I have two kids, they're 5 and 3, and it's such a trick to like, I'm trying to build a big successful company, the biggest and baddest I've ever done. I'm trying to be a good partner to my wife, who's a professor and has a very intense job. I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to work out, trying to sleep, trying to like do it all. And there's these points where it used to be every inbound email I got, I'd be like, yes, I can help. How can I help? And now I think I'm like finding myself being more, I don't know what it is, like selective, or you know what I've been doing actually, Aaron, is I will, I'll give this line. Hey, I really want to help. My plate is super full. How specifically are you looking for help so I can tell you if I'm the right person or not?
Do you ever read Essentialism?
No, what's that?
You should read that book.
Okay.
It's by, I listen or read this book probably every 6 to 12 months. It's awesome.
Whoa. Essentialism. Okay.
Yeah. It's basically what you're talking about, which is like keeping the main thing the main thing. I mean, you could come up with 1,000, but I would definitely read that book.
Okay. Essentialism. I will.
I don't have any good takeaways other than like, it's great. Do it right now.
Yeah.
You're going to hit a point soon where you're going to be excited for your older one to put themselves to bed. And then you're going to realize, oh, but then there will be a last time when I tuck them in. And I'm at that point with my older one right now, because that time is now later. And then I'm like too tired to work. And it's okay to be too tired to work. Like, oh, if I could have started an hour, I could have gone into a flow for 2 hours, and it's just like, it's the wrong decision criteria.
Yeah.
Be careful. Yeah.
I just took my my son Theo, who I'm just obsessed with, obviously, as my whole family. He just started his first, like, we called it a big boy school day, where it's like a proper school and is regimented. And we took him in this morning. We rode our bikes to school, and I was like so emotional. I was like, oh, and he was like, bye, Dad. And there's these moments that just come at you. Like kids are the ultimate barometer of time.
Yeah.
Like that is 5 years of life. Yeah. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit, because I think another part of this is there's a reason people, like your help. There's a reason people want to help you make connections. And part of it too is, Aaron, because you're fun. Like you're not like this jerk who's super, like, I don't know, whatever the thing is that we both know we don't want to be. You know what I mean? Like super low EQ or no empathy or whatever it is. And so one of the things I've always believed so much is that you can have fun and be really, like, you can still be goofy and also be very professional. And you even mentioned that one of your barometers for like deciding whether or not you're going to work with someone is if you have joy with that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess what are the ways that you bring both personality and fun into these business settings? Like, pitches and investor meetings. I mean, I think people have this mistake. They have to be super serious all the time.
Yeah. This is probably a terrible analogy. Our CMO at Modify, a buddy of mine from college in IO, who's brilliant, the best marketer, and all the things. I remember him saying, among many wise things, was like, your brand is only as strong as its weakest touch point.
Oh, wow.
And so if you're starting and you're going to be like, hey, we're going to post on Instagram, but you end up posting once a month and it's fair, or you start writing a blog, but then people say that there's a 3 month gap between, it's like, don't do it. And I think on a personal side, and going back to like trying to be authentic and trying to be vulnerable, is it's very rare that I put on errors. I'm just like, I am who I am. And so if you read, which you should not, but like if you read my LinkedIn posts, most
I
of them
did.
are dumb or shit talking or just like what I'm feeling at that moment. Does that make sense? And like if I write a serious one, it's not to like look serious, but it's because I'm like, yo, I just went through fundraising. Here are 30 tips. This is literally everything I've ever thought about. And people ask me for half hours all the time. I'm not going to tell you anything outside of this. Like, here is everything. And I like spent hours over weeks because I kept adding new comments or whatever. And so I think the way to, I don't know that I bring joy to everybody by any, do you know what I mean? I'm not like, but I think by being myself, it makes it probably just more authentic. And so whether my definition of, oh, I like this person or we have a good relationship is the same as anybody else's, doesn't really matter because it works for me. Like, I find it very painful when people are smiling to your face and then like jerks in other.
That's called like grin screwing someone over. You like, yeah, and then you just,
Yeah. And
I
it's just
hate
like,
that.
I'd rather just not like, it's fine. It's just like, that's not for me. So therefore, like, I don't engage like that. Like, if I'm not into, I'm not going to like fake it for a while. Do you know what I mean? And then like after this, this is very enjoyable, right? It's been really fun hanging out with you. It's not going to be like, I'm going to be like, sorry, leave me alone. Like, if you ever call or text, I know that there's going to be a reason you're doing it. We're going to jump on a call and we'll spend the time. And I have no doubt that you would act the same way. Yeah, but anyway, I think you follow that. So yeah, I think it's more, again, I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just like, for lack of a better piece of pithy advice, like, be yourself. If you're going to
Yeah.
be dour, be dour. If you're going to be spunky, be spunky. If you're going to be whatever, be whatever.
Well, so I mean, so this is interesting because I think you are, so you're making it seem really easy, but it's actually a pretty, I think, hard balance to achieve, where you are direct but not considered a jerk. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know that everybody would agree with you, but I appreciate it. I think the places where I get into trouble are actually, my default mode is joking around. It's funny. I see this with one of my kids. But my bar is also really high.
Yes.
And so you'll see me go from like pumped to be like, oh, this is bad. We should fix it right now. But when I say this is bad, we should fix it right now, it's not like, Healy, you're bad. But if you're used to me, ha 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 ha, and I'm like, shit, we got to do better, that I know that doesn't feel good for you. And you're like, oh, am I like, there can be a whiplash.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I have to be very careful with that because I'm like super gregarious and I'm like, I get serious and I don't get serious. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean it. But I'm like, hey, we're presenting this deck to the brand. Awesome work, everybody. By the way, this, and this aren't good enough. Let me fix it.
Yep.
The feeling of aren't good enough or like, we need to change this. I think a lot of times, I think when people first start working with me, probably feel like, oh, he doesn't trust me, or there's like, and I'm like, no. We are building this together. I couldn't have done the part you did. I'm really good at these other things. Let's do it. And so I don't know how that plays outside of work or outside of family, like in the advisory or connectivity or community side of things. But definitely in a work setting, I think it actually like, it would almost be better to just be like emotionless. I'm not saying you'd build a better company, but do you know what I mean? Like,
I do. It's funny though, because so I feel like I'm literally hearing myself talk. I'm the exact same way. And sometimes people go, hey, that was kind of like, it was a jarring. It was like a Jekyll and Hyde where it was all fun and games. And then you got really intense on something. And I think it is kind of hard because look, as a person, I want to have fun in life. It sounds like you do too. And I don't want to spend my time being this like draconian tyrant who's just like barking orders and telling people why they're not good enough. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to say it. But at the other side, it's like, you do have to let people know if it's not good enough because it's your job. Like you, to me, I kind of think about it as like someone earns a right to be goofy and fun because they're a badass who's just like crushing everything. But you can't be a goofy and laughy if you're not good at your job. Like, you have to be exceptional at your job, and then you can also do it.
yeah, I think that's spot on. I feel like we should go into a longer therapy session about this. This is
Yeah, yeah. I'll call my therapist.
maybe I'll save it and I'll leave my ramblings here.
No, I'm down. Okay, awesome. So on that, I mean, I guess this is kind of like there's this big trend now, especially amongst the new generation of workers, about being your authentic self. And I'm I am finding I am getting a little surprised sometimes at how authentic and open they are out of the gates. It's like first meeting, and I know every disorder they've ever had, and I know they're like, there's a lot, but I guess it's kind of a question where you're trying to show up as your authentic self. A huge part of that are the reasons that people help you, the reasons you help other people. Like that connection's a big part of it. How do you find the line? Like, where do you decide like the boundary that you keep is, and how does it change based on who the audience is?
I don't know I do this in as structured of a way as I hope I do, but there are some people who I will share. I mean, there's a scale. There are people I'll share everything with. There are people I'll share nothing with. And obviously there's everybody in the middle. I think if we think about this from a work setting perspective is you have co-founders for a reason. There are things I will share with my co-founder that could be like, hey, I'm in a really bad place, just to like keep this generic and high level or something. It doesn't even matter why. And I'm like, I don't need you to solve this. You just need to know that like I might be a little snippy today. Whatever, right? I'm making up the example, but you get it. I think the framework is probably like if you can share with somebody and it creates connectivity, great. If you're sharing with somebody and you're adding weight to what is probably already their very busy, stressed life, even if they're not sharing that they're stressed with you and they like seem great, but obviously something going on, family, like who knows? Like don't default assume everything's great for the person you're like unloading your baggage on. I think that is probably the biggest thing. What I want with people who I work with is for them to know that like I genuinely I think I'm a terrible manager. If you're not, if you're like A plus, I think if you're an A player, I think I'm a great manager. If you're a B, I eventually hit a point of being like, I'm not structured enough to catch it. So I just like start wanting to do it myself. But for the person who asks for help, I'm an awesome manager because I'm like, I'll stay up all night with you. Even if you just need me to sit there, I'm not going to do a thing, but you just need me to sit there. So you feel companionship. I'll be there with you. Like if we're on the same team. And so like, I want people to see that side and like understand that if I'm working on a weekend, I'm not like expecting them to work on a weekend. It's just like, I'm here. I care about this. If you need me, let me know. So yeah, I think there's that delicate balance in a work side of how much you share.
I just want to say that was so like, I'm going to think about this for a while. This idea that if you're sharing something that's somewhat personal with someone and it forges a stronger connection, it's a good idea, usually. But if it's just to take some of the weight you have and put it on their shoulders, don't do it. I love that, man. Aaron, that's good, man. That's I got to think about that. I'm like, oh shit. Maybe
Healy, do I honor this? I do. I probably do not. But
overall,
it sounds super smart.
It sounds really smart. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one too. So a little bit here is I want to talk about family a little bit. I think it is a really like obviously look behind you. You have these wonderful drawings. I'm assuming that you didn't do those.
I didn't do them.
It's not your.
My kids have gone lazy. I need some upgrades, but.
Obviously there's a part of this that matters hugely to you, and I think there's these tricks here, which is balancing family as a founder and having them be both a motivation to you to want to be better and do good stuff and make them proud, but then also like knowing that they probably don't really want to hear it anymore. There's a point you can't load your wife up with more of that stuff. So
we've two girls. My wife is at Meta and has been there for a long time and is a breadwinner, has always had being a founder is hard. She is was working on the AR glasses side and then the AI side. And it's like, she has much harder problems to solve, right? And much bigger organizations, everything. And she does not want to talk about work pretty much at all. And so there'll be times where I'll be like, hey, this happened. And then this happened. And like, she doesn't really engage with it. And I mean, without a doubt, sometimes I'm just like frustrated and I'll communicate that maybe one time this week. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't what she like. This is me unloading, or even if it's a positive thing. But then if she doesn't react to my positive thing, then I'm like, why aren't you reacting to the positive thing?
Yeah.
Like charging a situation where it's like she has opted out of this being part of our relationship is dumb for me to try to opt us both back in.
It's a great
With
frame.
so I have this is part of why like there's plenty of other people I'm sharing with. Like if push comes to shove, she's obviously there for me. Yada
Yeah.
yada. She's
Yeah.
a saint. You know, I can give you all the phrases. She's wonderful. You love her. The
She'll never hang out with you, but
no, she doesn't want to talk to me. But she's or listen, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. The with our girls, it's really funny. On Sunday of last week, I took a nap. I like left or Saturday, whatever it is. I left what we were doing and I like literally went home and took a nap. And I'd been maybe sick, jet lag, whatever it was. And I apologized to the girls because it was like our Saturday hanging out. And I don't remember which one of them was like, oh, we just want you to feel better. So it was like such a caring thing. And I was like, oh, was I probably being a jerk this morning because I felt bad? And like we didn't go down that path. But I think with the family side is I work a lot. I will work on weekends when they're playing together. I will bring stress if I'm thinking about work and like I need to not have looked at my phone. Just I need to be more present. But I'm also like I will take them to school every day. I put them to bed every night, 6 nights a week. I'm putting them to bed, and then outside of those time frames, I'm like, great. I'm working. I'm doing whatever I need to do. But like you made the comment earlier, like oh, see friends or work out. I work out a lot less than I ever did. If I do, it's like there's a neighborhood pool I go to, and it's like a 30-minute round trip for me to go for 5 minutes, swim for 20 minutes. I'm not a good swimmer. Walk 5 minutes. And so I like wake up well before them and I try to do as much as I can. But I just like stop doing a lot of other stuff. This is part of why I'm not spending as much time advising or investing. I'm like, I don't have time to look at a new company.
yeah, I mean, similar on my end is, I have this tremendous pressure to perform. And I think as a founder, as a CEO, as an exec, like you feel that, and you feel not just the pressure of taking care of your family, you feel the pressure of taking care of the company. And in our cases, it can be a lot of people and their families, and they really depend on you to pull off the fundraise or pull off the strategy or make the meeting happen. And it's the hardest thing for me has been when I'm feeling really rough at work. I'm not great at compartmentalizing, and I can just feel it at home. I'm a little snappier. I'm a little more of a jerk. And I'll never forget. I was at this table. I was in the middle of fundraising, and all fundraisings are really intense. And there is this firm I thought for sure was going to lead this round, and it's gonna be great. And I got the email. Of course, never a call anymore. So it was a freaking email from like the most junior guy. And I remember I go, God, I hit my table, and both my kids, it was the cutest thing. They ran downstairs and they just hugged me. They didn't ask what happened. They just hugged me. And it was so like, beautiful in one way, also like reminds you got to be careful about what you're bringing home. It's tricky. It's really, really hard. And I find that family both fuels me wanting to do the right thing and be bigger and badder and more successful to take care of them. But it is also even makes things even more stressful, because if I don't do it and I don't get it done, like it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
So Aaron, there's so much content out there in like every business book recently feels like it's kind of similar stuff. Could just be a tweet. There's a lot of what we call AI slop. What are some of the books you've been reading recently that are having like an outsized impact on how you think about things?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I mentioned earlier the book Essentialism. I definitely read that every 6 months, every year. I think about it like if I go back to my first startup and where I see people with like success, and you've seen this, without a doubt, like focus wins. And I think the idea of essentialism is like, if you don't structure your life and you don't decide what are the things that are essential to you, other people will do it for you. So it used to be cool. You introducing somebody, they want to take time. I take the time now. And you gave the better example earlier in our conversation about this, right? Is like, okay, will this, actually, I don't even want to try to say it how you said it, but like in my language, right? It's like, I've set these goals. I have these priorities. This person is asking for this. Does this help me make progress towards my goals or priorities? And those goals or priorities, one of them at a different stage, and it could be in Q1, right? It doesn't have to be like a different stage of life. Could be actually meet as many new people as possible. The next quarter, maybe it's, hey, I really want to focus on like the Boys and Girls Club. The next quarter, do you know what I mean? Like there are different things. And so your comment earlier about like, well, what's the agenda? Like, how can I uniquely be valuable? And if the person won't give you the answer to that, then it's like, yeah, I right now, it's not I don't value you or value your time, but like I can't spend my time helping you solve that.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's number one.
When people, I have a personal rule when someone says, "Hey, can we get together to chat?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What about?" If they can't answer that, it's like respectfully, the answer is no. Like I'm not gonna.
I literally had this with somebody the other day and it was extremely uncomfortable, but I was like, I'm running sales. I'm keeping my calendar completely open. I'm happy to do early in the morning. What do you want to talk about? And they haven't replied. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not.
Opted out. Yeah.
And he's not bad. Like he's a wonderful person. I just like right now I don't have time for it.
Yeah. Okay. Essentialism. Okay. Awesome. I'm gonna read that. No question.
The other book that I really like is The Psychology of Money. It's a book that my wife was read, and like it's actually been helpful to talk about because everybody has different objectives. Like she's much more conservative. I obviously am risk seeking, but there's so many good insights in there. But again, I'm probably doing a disservice to what the story is. But a piece of it is like, what's the definition of enough? And if you have enough, don't put that at risk. So if your enough is $1 million, and there's a great investment, there's bond, there's something that is like has the slightest amount of risk and it could go to zero, don't touch that money. It doesn't matter how good of an opportunity, right? And so like figuring out what that is for you, depending on the period of time or whatever, is like something that's actually been very, very helpful for us to talk about money and what our shared goals are.
But the Nebraskan in me is exactly that. Like I'm like, I made this money. I'm not going to put this at risk. Like
I invest
put
in
that away. You know.
I'm just an idiot. I invest in startups and I shouldn't do it. So I finally started investing in venture funds because I was like, you guys are thinking harder about.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I'll get lower returns, but
okay. Final question. So if you could go back to the earliest stage of your career, Aaron, and give yourself advice about either building your inner circle or the power of paying it forward, what would you tell yourself?
I think I was probably cagier with information at the beginning of my career. And like, oh, I don't want somebody to steal my idea or whatever. And I think it probably took me a couple of years before I realized, oh, I should just share these problems. Nobody else, even if they're steal my idea and go after it, they're not thinking about the business the way I'm thinking about it. It doesn't matter, right? Like if I'm right, there should be 1,000 competitors. So don't worry about the random person who's going to do it. Like if they can help you create more opportunities for them to help you. So I think probably like be more open more quickly. In e-commerce, and it's not a commerce thing, but I think a lot about partnerships and how to grow. Across the last couple of companies, we've had a phrase which is like be a net referrer. So you want to be a business where people refer you business because like, oh my God, when we work with Orita, our customers are happier and they make more money and whatever it is. But how can I be a referrer to you to like go create value for you in spirit? Like you then, when the time is right, think about us and you refer out. And so I think like being even more intentional about like creating connectivity. And, I think I put a lot of time into helping people, but I think I was probably helping them in the moment. And I probably could have like, this is going to sound really silly, but kept a list of all the people I met with and every quarter looked at it and like, oh, wonder how they're doing. And could I go connect them with somebody else right now? Or like, has my network changed enough or do I have some insight that I didn't have back then? And that probably would have taken like 3 hours to like consolidate the list and then a 30-minute scan every 3 months. And I probably could have like, made like 10 more useful connections and like create that much value with minimal costs. And so it's like a very high leverage activity.
That's a great, I'm actually going to do that. That's a great idea. Awesome. Aaron, thank you so much, man. This has been so fun. What a pleasure. I guess last question is, where can people find you online if they want to get in touch?
I am almost solely on LinkedIn. I shit post a lot, so everybody's welcome to see me there. I'm one of the founders of Orita.ai. I'm Aaron at Orita.ai. If anybody is interested in like AI customer segmentation to make a lot of money, but it's LinkedIn, man. That is the best place for me.
Awesome, wonderful. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.